Hey there everyone, Chris Cervantez again, KALEO Real Estate. I'm back here with Dave Stocks from V.I.P Mortgage, and today we're talking about the HECM for purchase process, or product I should say.
Yeah.
And we've actually created several videos, so if you haven't watched those, please refer to those and make sure that you watch those. They're very, very informative. But today what we're going to talk about is the HUD counseling portion of the whole process.
Sure.
So I know Dave has a lot to share about that. So where do we go from there?
Yeah, Chris, that's a great subject because it is so much a part of what happens with an FHA HECM, and especially the FHA HECM purchase, is that the government really wants you to understand, wants the senior to understand what they're doing. So prior to taking an application, this is something that a senior is going to be required to do. So that they understand, it's not that the HUD counselors, which HUD, Housing and Urban Development, in other words, a government counselor, will explain what it, or make sure that the senior understands what it is. They don't tell them whether they should do the whole thing or not. They think about doing. What they do is make sure they understand it. So what they do is it takes about an hour over the phone, and you can do this right from your kitchen table. It's not nearly as scary as it sounds when you hear HUD counseling. You're not going to the DMV without an appointment or something. You can literally do this right at your kitchen table. They go through different ideas that you may not have considered besides doing an FHA HECM. So they go through those details, and then once they're done with that, they actually send out a certificate to you. And in the state of California, we have what's called a 7-day cooling off period. So on the 8th day after that counseling is done, I can then begin the process of someone's home loan. So you definitely want to get it done prior to considering an FHA HECM purchase. They're good for 6 months. So you want to get that done as part of your pre-approval process. It's something that can be done from the convenience of you can go in and talk to a counselor face-to-face. If you prefer that. It does take longer usually to get in, or you can do it from the convenience of from your front room. You can have, if there's more than one of you, you can both be on there at the same time. You can even do it from your CPA's office or your financial advisor's office, however you feel comfortable with that, because many times people involve others besides themselves, even relatives, maybe kids, ones that would be affected by how the HECM for purchase works. So that's pretty much the skinny on how the counseling works. It sounds much more intimidating than what it is. It's not really this big brain-twisting test. It's really general information you know off the top of your head. But they want to make sure, the government wants to make sure you understand what one is, hearing from someone besides me or anybody else involved in the transaction.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it just really sounds like it's more of like a protection for consumers.
Absolutely.
To make sure that they're not just falling into some slimy loan. They're turning around and they're really fully informed on, hey, this is the process, this is what's going on, and it's great that they're able to involve anybody who they choose.
Yes.
So it's it's a full disclosure.
Yes. Let me just say real, Chris, before you go on that, you can actually, if you're doing this at your kitchen table, the counselor will call the financial advisor's office and put them on a third party, or your CPA or whoever, your kids, so everyone can be on the same phone call. They'll do that for you. You don't have to try and arrange that yourself.
Okay, and so you said that it's good for 6 months.
Yes.
Now, and then so you want to go ahead and let's just say I have a prospective client that's wanting to go ahead and utilize this.
Yes.
Do they list their home first and then do this whole counseling session, or do they get their home sold first and then do the counseling? I guess how does that?
That's a good question. It depends on how fast you think the house is.
Okay.
So we can do the full pre-approval within 72 hours. So I would recommend doing it before anything begins, because then everyone knows what the plan is and they're pre-approved for it.
And they understand.
But certainly if someone wants to list their house, you'll have time to get these things done, because you have to sell and then find another house. So you got time in between.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, good. And then, so there's given that certificate of completion.
Yes.
And then, in the event that they're not able to find a replacement home in 6 months, do they just actually have to do the same exact thing that they did previously all over again?
Pretty much, but you can use the same counselor. And it's usually a pretty simple recertification process.
Got it. Got
Yes.
it. Okay, and then you had also mentioned, there were some changes down the pike. I mean, it's, I'm not sure what you had mentioned about that.
Yeah, it has more to do with the contract and how it's put together. These are pretty normal FHA transactions, but there's some caveats to them that are a little different. During the summer here, it's pretty much it's going to be the same, but this fall there's some changes coming up that take away some of those caveats. So just be aware of those, and that's probably a good conversation to have maybe towards the end of the summer as some of those changes come into play, Chris.
Yeah, and you know what? And I'm glad that you kind of said it like that, because that's why you guys should just reach out to us directly. Dave is keeping his finger on the pulse of what's happening with the whole Heckham for purchase, and if there are any changes present, we can go ahead and let you know. So did you have anything else that you wanted to add regarding the home counseling process or the HUD counseling process?
I think we covered it pretty well. Just keep in mind it's not quite the brain twister that some people make it sound like, and I can certainly help coach you through that.
Excellent. All right. Well, again, thanks so much, folks, for joining us. Dave, thanks so much for sharing about
Sure.
that, how all that works. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to us directly. And I thank you for watching. Take care.